Hello and welcome to episode 36 of the Game Dev Tutorials. Today we are going to be adding skill bars, which is a pretty complicated process. But before we get started on that, I just want to remind you guys to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and brand new now, we have Discord down in the description. So click that, and if you need any help with anything, or you just want to chat and talk with other people, or you want to talk about, other things that have to do with the company. Obviously, I make games. Feel free to join up. Love to see you guys over there. A couple of you guys already noticed it was up, which is awesome. I put it up, I'm not exactly sure when. Sometime late last week, early this week. Don't really remember. But anyway, jump over. Be glad to see you. Some of you guys have been sharing your projects through there, and I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing, and it's really heartening to me. So, yeah. So let's talk about this stuff. We got some new art. Let's look at it real fast. This is the blink icon, fire circle, flame circle icon. I mean, I'm not trying to make these awesome, but this is the slot for the skill bar as well. So those are the three new pieces of art that we have, so we'll add those. In fact, I'll just do it now. That way I don't have to worry about it anymore, because as you guys know, I forget this stuff a lot. So if we go over here and go into UI, we're going to add icons. And then in icons, we're going to add those three things. So skills are here, and then just the slot. And then we will content, copy if newer. Okay, so we've done that. That's done. It's out of the way. We don't have to worry about it anymore. Now, we're going to need three new classes for this one. So in order of difficulty to add, or not difficulty, in order of the hierarchy for which they're needed, first we need the button, then we need a slot for the button, and then we have the skill bar that holds the slot for the buttons. So that is what we're going to do. I'll explain in a minute why we need it, why we need these three classes to do this. And you don't need them. I'll explain why I use three classes to do it. You can do it differently than I'm doing it, but this seems to be a much more robust way to do things, at least in my opinion. Then we've got to add the skill bar to the hero, remove the old code that deals with getting abilities to work, and then we're going to test it. So there's only two things that we're getting new out of this today. We are going to be able to click our abilities, although blink doesn't really work very well with click yet, but we can readjust that at a later time. I'm not going to do it this tutorial, but our flame circle works great with the clicking. So yeah, and then we are going to get it set up so that whatever gets put into the skill bar, pressing the numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4 on your keyboard will activate whatever skill's in that slot. So it won't be hard coded to 1 does this skill and 2 does this skill. We are not going to dynamically load a skill bar in this tutorial, but we will hard code the loading of the two abilities in, and then we'll work on the other stuff later. It's a long explanation, guys. I know, I'm sorry, but that's just where we're at for this. So yeah. Okay, jumping right into it. We are going to come down here into skills, right? And we are going to add a skill button. The skill button is very similar to a regular button, so it's not, but it's not similar enough to copy paste, in my opinion. Well, yeah, let's just type it. So new, we'll just be removing pretty much everything. That's okay. Let's remove everything. That's what we'll do. So let's jump up in here. Let's grab button 2D, copy it, paste it into skills, rename it to skill button. Okay, so what we're setting up for skill button today is not everything that you should have in a skill button. And that's like, well, why didn't you put it? Because it's just too long. Right now we're trying to get the skill bar working. That's our goal, is the skill bar, not the skill button. We'll improve our skill buttons as things go. Right now, that's not super important. All we need in our skill button that's different than button is a skill and a skill slot. But we don't have that yet, so just you're going to have to be patient. We'll get to that. All right, so we need our path, our position, our dimensions. That's all fine. Font path. We're going to set these. Oh, I forgot. We are going to fix something in our button class, too. We don't want those, because we're just going to hard code. We're not going to have text on it. Okay, so then we come down to here. We pass in blanks. Now this is where we can, this actually breaks the game, and I don't want it to break the game, so we're going to go in and fix those in a second. Button clicked, and info. Okay, so that's our thing. Let me jump into button and show you what I'm talking about. Go to definition. Right down here, it assumes font is not null. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're just going to wrap it real quick in this and say if font not equal null, right? Because this will break because we're not passing in a font. It's just blank. So minor detail, but important enough to fix. Okay, all of this gone. And then, so skill is going to be passed in by info. Okay, so, and this is just skill. Cool. And then we have to do the slot here too. So we'll just mention it. It's going to be equal null. But we don't have it yet, so we can't do this yet. It's pretty simple stuff overall. All right, our update is very simple. We have an if statement that just asks if the skill is not equal to null. This is essentially just testing to make sure that we have a viable button to be clicking on. Otherwise, we shouldn't be able to be clicking on it. So we wrap that click functionality and all the other button functionality into making sure that the skill is active. Okay, we don't need the reset. We don't need the button click stuff. Although you might override your button click later, but let's not worry about it right now. The draw stuff is different. So we don't need this. We don't need all this because that's all in here, right? Because we're overriding into this. So, but what we want to do is just have an if and say if skill not equal null. 2 L's would be good. And then we say skill dot. Ooh, we don't have the icon. Okay, we're gonna leave that there for a second. I forgot we have to add icons. So right in here, you're gonna say public animated 2D icon. Yeah, that's that. And then we need to add the icon. Oh, not here. We do it in the individual skills. Right. So here, in blink, for instance. And this is important. If you don't do this, it won't work. It's not good. So make sure you do this. Icon equals new animated 2D. Okay. And then the location for that bit there is, so 2D UI icons skills blink. Okay, double check just so you guys know how I got that. I know that it's all in the 2D, so I didn't have to see that, but it's there. Let's just close that so you can see these are 2D UI icons skills blink, right? And that's what we have. Okay, let's say the position we set it to 0 because we're going to move it around the screen where we need it to be at. So new vector 2, and then those are just zeros. Boy, I cannot type. More so than usual. I mean, you guys all know I can't type well, but all right. So, and then we're going to set the size to 40. That'll probably be good enough. 32 is a little too small. 64 is way big. So I don't know. I kind of went in the middle. New vector 2. These are frames, so just ones. I didn't make a sprite sheet. Could you make a sprite sheet for your icons? Damn well you could. If you want to do that, you go right ahead. But that's not common, right? That's usually icons aren't animated. Okay, so we have our icon for blink. We take it. We go over to flame circle, but the skill, not the thingy. Where is that? There we go. Flame wave. Sorry. And then we're going to say it's fire, right? What was it? Fire icon. Rename. Copy. Paste. Okay. So that sets up our icons. We have icons now, so when we go to our wonderful broken stuff that we left like this, we'll say skills.icon.draw. And then we're drawing that at, if I remember right, we're drawing it just at the offset. Yeah, just at the offset. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, wherever we're drawing the button, we're drawing the icon over top of it. If the skill is not equal to null. So if there's a skill in the button, then we draw over it. So I guess I'll explain it all afterwards. Hopefully it'll make sense to you guys better than trying to explain what we're doing beforehand. But anyway, okay, so this is our whole skill button. It's very simple. All we're doing is modifying button to have a slot, which we don't have yet, and a skill. The button knowing what slots it's in is helpful later. It won't be very helpful for this tutorial, but it is something you want, and I'm going to tell you want it now, and then when you realize how to use it, then you'll be like, oh, that guy's not a moron, you know? But, alright, so button, done, cool. We're not done, but mostly done. We just have to come back and add the slot. So we did that in skill button. So now we want to have a skill button slot. This is a new thing. So add new item class skill button slot. Add. Okay, and skill button slot is not overly complicated. We do need to grab our includes, right? Because we have a new bit. So I'll go do that. Cool. Remove our namespace garbage. Garbage is the wrong word, but the stuff we're not using. You're more than welcome to go into all that. I just don't have time to be that specific in these tutorials. Skill button slot. Oops. Okay, so skill button slot, pretty simple stuff. What skill button slot does is it has the image for the slot, it has a skill button. For now, that's all we need to get started. So public animated 2D slot icon, and then public skill button, and then all we're passing in for a skill button slot is a position. So vector 2 pose, and then we don't need a position because that's just to set up our icon slot offsets, which in general is 0. But if you needed it to be different for whatever reason, this would be the way to pass it in. Okay, so slot icon equals new animated 2D. And let's just go grab here because it's right next to it. And it's pretty much the same thing. So let's grab this. Let's go here. Rather than type it all out, let's do that. That. And then this is something. I don't know. Let's look. This. Okay, right? It's not in skill. Yeah, it's just right there. Cool. All right. Also zeros, but here we're going to be position because we'll allow for the offset to take place there. And the same size. No, we'll make this slightly larger. And happy days. Okay, so we have our skill icon now, our slot icon, and then we have skill button equals null, right? So very similar to what we did here. So, but now we can go to our wonderful thing and fix here. So into our button and add our slots because we have it now. Skill button slot, and then slot, lowercase, equals null. All right. Skill button's done now. Skill button slot. That's lowercase. Okay. All right. So we have our slot and our button in here. They can see each other, which is a cool thing if you set it up right. So the button knows which slot it's in, and the slot knows what button it has. So they work together. When you get into some really complicated skills, that's going to become important. Potentially. Cool. All right. Public virtual void update. In here we just have offset, so vector2 offset. And then here we have the slot icon, and we are always going to update that. Offset. And then if our skill button is not equal to null, two else. Then we're gonna have skill button dot update, and then we are gonna have offset plus slot icon dot pose. Okay. Why are we doing that? Because the slot icon position would hold any offset that we needed for the skill slot. Okay, so we are updating at wherever we tell it to go, plus whatever we had before. Okay, so that's that. And now we have draw, and this is also not very complicated, but we do need to put in some of our shader code for it. So just bear with me real quick. Void draw, and again we're just taking an offset. Boom. Okay, and then so basic stuff first, and then I'll add the shader stuff because this is where the shader will go into this if statement later. Slot icon not equal null, and the reason the shader info goes in here is because when you draw the button, it changes the shader mode, so we have to rechange it back to draw the icons. Okay, so slot icon dot draw, and then offset. Right, so this matches this, right? And then again, I don't want to type this. We'll just take it, copy, paste it, and hit draw. Okay, so we have now our base. Oh, let's get the shader. So the shader, where's a good shader to grab from? Maybe in main. The shader code. That's not blank shader code though. I want blank shader code. Well, we can just do this. Find all reference and find the blank stuff. That looks like blank stuff. Nope, that's not blank stuff. There's blank stuff. Alright, there's a blank bit. So we take that, and then I'm getting this from quantity display bar, just so you guys know. But, yeah. Alright, and then we need to put it in right here. If you don't do this, when you highlight your last slot with a button in it, all slots will highlight, and that's no good. So we want to set that color to white, because the highlight from the button sets this to blue. I believe it's blue. And then this will set these back to white so that we're not getting that weird effect happening. So gotta have that. All right. Cool. We have our slots. We have our buttons. That's enough to actually do the skill bar. You could do the skill bar with this by itself, and you could actually use regular buttons. You wouldn't even need skill buttons for what we're trying to do right now. But I'm trying to get you guys to do this in a way that you'll be able to easily edit it moving forward. In our last tutorial, we showed how fast we could add something, a new skill, to the game. And the only reason we can do it that quickly is because we're set up in a pretty good way. I'm not going to say it's the best way. I'm not even ever going to claim that what I do is the best. But it's in a good enough way that adding content, instead of taking hours of your time, took us 10 minutes. So the reason we're setting a new class up for the skill button and skill slots being their own class and the skill bar being its own class is it gives you a lot of organized space to create, and you can also override those individual things to create better things in the future. So just take that into consideration, okay? Alright, so we've done this, and now we've got to work on our skill bar. So we're already pushing some pretty serious time. I told you this would be a longer one. But it's important. This is an important step for the game. Okay, so skill bar goes in units. New item. And it's a new class, so let's just do that. Skill bar class. Okay, same bit. Get rid of the namespace. Grab ourselves our includes. Doesn't matter from where, because in this project we're just using, they're all the same. So yeah. Public. Yeah. Let's see. Skill bar. Let me look at the prompt real fast. Just so we can make sure we get all the stuff right. So all you need in skill bar is the starting position of the first slot, because they'll go sequentially, right? So like they'll go like so if this was the first skill, the next one's going to go next to it, and then 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 I mean, these are not evenly spaced out, obviously, but like you only need to know the position of this one in order to space out all these, because these are going to be programmatically spaced out. Now, they could be vertical, they could be horizontal, they could be diagonal, they could go this far and then wrap, and then wrap, and then wrap, and you could do whatever you want with them, right? I'm not saying they have to be in a specific way. You know, pretty standard is a horizontal line of them, but you can do whatever you want, but they should be done programmatically from here. But this individual spot, like if you wanted it to be in the bottom of your screen, then you know you need to know where that is. Or if you want them to be here, then you need to know where this one is so that you can programmatically align them. Okay? So that's why we only need to know that. Then we need to know how far apart they are. Let's go back. We need to know this distance. How far apart are they? Now, for me, that's just going to be a float because I actually want them to be aligned really nicely. So if I were to wrap, I would want this space to be the same as the vertical space. So you could use a vector 2 here if you wanted to. I'm just going to use a float. And the last thing we need to do is we need to know how many slots there are. So a list of skill button slots. So let's put all that in now. Public float spacer, public vector 2, first pose, and then public list skill button slot, slots equals new list. Okay. Now here we're going to say public skill bar. Our variables here will be the position of the first thing, so vector 2 first pose, float spacer, int num slots. Okay, that's what we need. Now let's get it all loaded up. Spacer equals spacer, first pose equals first pose, and then for int I equals 0, I less than num slots I plus plus, and then we're going to say slots dot add new skill button slot, and then just vector 2 new vector 2 0 comma 0. Okay, so this initializes our skill bar with the data that we want in it. Public virtual void update, and this is going to bring an offset. Now, normally you're not going to want anything with offset unless you're going to start having a shake effect on your UI, which you can do. This is probably not useful at this time because we are passing in the first position. So, but you can do this. You can create a shake effect on your UI. You can do things that make this helpful. So, first things first. And I'm not going to do this whole class right now. We're just going to start with the basic stuff, and then we're going to come back and add other things. So, for int I equals 0, I less than slots dot count I plus plus, and then slots I dot update, and then we have first post. There we go. Plus new vector 2, and then this is where I was saying they need to be programmatically spaced out. So you're going to have spacer times I 0, because we're not doing any vertical right now. And then we're going to have a draw that does basically the same thing for now. Now this is just the base. This is where we're going to get to for now. So let's go and hook this into our unit class, or our hero class. I don't have that open yet. That's mob, hero. There we go. Let's pen that puppy. Alright, now in hero class, we're not going to get rid of our skills list. So our skills list is the list of all possible skills for that hero. Our skill bar is a variable list of a variable partial list. Or subset list. It doesn't have to be partial. Partial actually means that it's not the full list, but it can be our full list. Let's say you have 30 slots in your skill bar, but only 5 skills. Well, you could have the entire list. So this is a subset. Subsets can be the set of all. So subset's the correct word. Semantics there, but I figured I'd mention it. So, all right, in here, what we're going to have is we are going to first declare our skill bar. Oh, well, we need it over here. We need skill bar here. Skill bar. Now skill bar equals new skill bar, and our skill bar is going to consist of those 3 things we mentioned. Now, first things first is we'll decide where it goes. So new vector 2, and I think I put it at 80 and then 80 from the bottom. 80 from the bottom is globals dot screen height minus 80, so it's like here on the screen right now. So it's not right in the bottom, it's not in the middle, it's just right over here. You do what you want with it, but that's where I'm putting it for now. We decided our skill slots were 44, so maybe we do like 52 as a spacer. I don't know, we'll see how that looks. And then last but not least, how many slots. So for right now we'll just use 10. Okay, now our skill bar doesn't have anything in it yet, so what we want to do is say for int I equals 0, I less than skills. Now this is not how you'll put this in later. In fact, if you get more skills than slots right now, this will break. So but for right now, this does the trick, and it'll allow you to add more things. Well, we'll not let it break. How's that? It's only going to add the first 10 slots. That's what it's going to do. So if I less than skill bar dot slots dot count. Okay, so that's just testing for it. Else break. Yeah. You don't need this, but the efficiency part of me just won't let me not put it in right now. So let's say you have 50 skills. It puts the first 10 in, and instead of running through this 40 more times, it runs through the 11th time, finds that there's no more space, and then breaks out. So it saves you a loop of skills minus 10 pieces. It's minor, but I don't know. I felt like I had to put it in. So it's there. All right. Now inside here, we're going to say skill bar dot slots I dot skill button equals new skill button, and that's an image. We're not going to worry about that right now. New vector 2 because this is our position. This is just zeros because we deal with the shifting programmatically. New vector 2 40 40. That's our dimensions. New. Oh no. Okay. And then we need a function to put in there, and then the skill. So skill I. Now, if you have taken, like, I don't know if they'd cover this in 100 level classes, but let's say 200 level classes at a college, you're going to be told don't put the same variable into the same counter into two different lists or arrays. And in general, that's correct. That's why we had to add this testing. So this is test code. This is code to get stuff into our skill bar. This is not how you should get things into a skill bar in a game. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is test code. From here to here, test code. Okay. All right. 2D. That, in fact, I think we might be removing it next tutorial, but we need it for this purpose right now. Okay, so we're just using our solid, which is just a white block, as the image for the skill button. Now, we have that. We have them put in, and we have this code here that you know what, we gotta I forgot the function. Let's do the function first, and I think we should call it maybe set skill. Yes, that's what I used in the other one, so in my prompt. So public virtual void set skill. Now I received a couple messages about things becoming unwieldy. This is one of the fixes for things becoming unwieldy a bit, is this skill bar. And one of those things that we need to do is, instead of having hard-coded this junk, which, let me grab one of these because we actually do need this code for this in a minute, is to have a function that does it each time. So rather than having to have this code over and over again, which was just hard coding, right? I was just trying to show how fast content could be added. Well, this actually is going to speed up content adding even faster because we'll never have to touch it again. So current skill will come in right here. So this is not what we need. We need skill and info. And then now that we've set current skill, we set it's active to true. So that is essentially the same as these bits. So let's comment those out. And you can say, well, wait, we're not testing this yet. We will. Don't worry. We will test them, but we're not going to do them there anymore. And then what we need to do is down here say skill bar dot update, and then this is, I don't even think that we need anything in there. Oh, we do have the offset. So vector 2.0, and then we need to draw it. So we're going to draw that puppy right below here. So it draws if you walk under it somehow, you're going to see the skill bar still, and that changes to draw. Okay, so how do we deal with this stuff? So let's just take it real fast. And let's put that into skill bar now that we're updating it. So these are the slots updating. But now we want to test for input, right? And we're going to start off with a simple method, which is we're going to hard code each one of these buttons. So you have D1, and then we are going to say if slots dot count. This is error checking. Don't need this right now, but you should have it. So if the count is greater than 0, because this is 1, so this is the first slot that we're trying to address, is greater than 0, then we're going to say if, and these can be in the same thing, but this is a little easier to read sometimes. If slots 0 dot skill button not equal null, so we have a slot that the skill button is not equal to null on, then we are going to run a click check. So let's just copy paste this. Now a click check, run the click. So we have a button. Let's say we click on it. It runs something, right? That does something. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to run that click. Does that make sense? So this runs, go to definition, this. And it can return null, right? So because it can return null, we had to check if it was null. So if we click a skill button and it's not set with a skill, it'll get to here, it'll run all the way to here, and it'll say, oh, there's nothing in there. Don't break, please. Right? Does that make sense? So this runs our button click. So why are we running button click? Well, because we want clicking on the button and pressing the keyboard button to be the exact same thing. Okay? So now they literally are the exact same thing. So now how do we do the second one? Hint, you can loop this. Okay? I'm not going to. I'm going to leave that on you guys, because there is some issues with 0, and I'm just going to mention that. So 0 is your 10th button. So if you loop this, you got to account for that. So, and now we're going to have to make sure it's 1. So we move that up 1. We move this up 1. This should give you the loop information that you need. 1, 1. Right? So 3 would be 3, 2, 2, 2. I'll do 3 just because. We don't have 3 buttons, that 3 skills yet. But I'm going to do 3, but this is as far as I'm taking it. After this, it's on you guys. 2, 2, 2. Okay? So if you do this all the way to 10, you'll have all of them. If you loop it, then you just need to account for the 0th bit. Other than that, it's just I plus 1 that goes in there, and I that goes in here. Make sense? Okay, good. So this is keyboard presses. Mouse presses just get taken care of by the fact that the buttons work, which this goes through here, and this goes through here, and that button, it's just a button, so we can click on stuff. Remember, blink won't work well, because when we click the button, blink will blink to exactly where the mouse is at. So you'll blink to your button. But you can adjust blink to work with this, and I may in the future, but we're already running really long on this tutorial. So let's test this. Finally, ooh, broke the world. Oh, I didn't add set skill. Okay. So let's see what we get here. Long tutorial, lot of rambling, I know. Alright, so I'm going to push 1. I'm going to push 2. I'm going to push 3. Nothing happened. That's as expected. Okay, so all that's working. Now let's click. So that works, and now watch what happens. See, I told you it blinked right to where we had our button. That is not what you are going to want for that, but our blink was so simple, we set it up to be so simple that it actually doesn't work with the click functionality. So you'll have to decide whether your cursor is over this button when it loads to decide whether to do a selection thing or not, is what I would do. But yeah, that is where we're at. That is a skill bar. Okay, we gained a small amount of functionality, but what we really did was make our code better and allow for much better things. Still have this bug I have to deal with eventually. Okay, guys. Again, if you haven't already, please like the video. It really helps to spread it. And the channel is growing substantially, which, you know, I'm really, really happy about. And I want to thank you guys for joining me on this ride and keeping me going. I want you guys to subscribe if you haven't, please. Consider supporting through Patreon or buying games or whatever, or even just, you know, words of encouragement are nice. They really are, and I try to respond to them, and thank you guys for them. Lastly, if you guys have a game you're working on that's either fully or mostly based on these tutorials that I'm making, share it with me. Join up on Discord and share it with me. If you don't want to share it with the rest of the world, that's fine. I'm not going to out you or share your stuff without your permission or anything. But I would love to see what you guys are working on. And eventually, if you guys are interested, and please tell me down in the comments if you are interested, I would like to do a showcase video of you guys' stuff that you guys are making with these tutorials. And maybe they're completely different games where you're just using, you know, UI code and whatnot, and, you know, you set up a grid and whatnot, but you have a completely different view. Like somebody asked me about isometric games. And I tried to do a little explanation in the comments. I'm not going to do isometric for this specific game. I may do it with the next set of tutorials. So just so you guys know, I am going to work on this until I feel like you guys have gotten everything out of it you can, and then I will stop on this set of tutorials. I don't know when that will be. I don't know if that's at 50 or 100 or 200 tutorials. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But I want to get all the basics in. I still have quite a few things. Like, we don't have sound. We don't have lots of things. So, I want to get to everything. I want to get to menus. I want to get all the basics. And then I will probably start a new tutorial series with a different type of genre. So, maybe the next one will be isometric. I don't know. But I'm just letting you guys know. That's how I'm planning on working on it. Because at some point, the core of the game is there, and it's time to allow you guys to do what you want with it. But also, if I wanted to use it for something else, it's time to pull that off of stream. Mainly because I don't want really old versions of something to come through. And then also start something new. So even after this tutorial series is done, I do plan on doing more tutorial series that are more specific to other genres. Maybe it'll be turn-based. Maybe it'll be an isometric RPG. Maybe it'll be, I don't know. Like, I don't know. We'll see where we get when we're there. But past that, guys, I'm having a lot of fun doing this. I'm so glad you guys are along for the ride. I love watching. We got some cleanup to do, obviously. I love watching you guys' games. So if you guys have stuff, show them to me. So cool. And then, yeah, I'll see you guys next time, next week. Trying to get these out on Friday, as you guys have noticed. And, yeah, join that Discord. Let me know what you think. Talk to you guys later.